Lisa Alexander. I am the admission assistant here at Cal State Fullerton for the special ed credential and master's programs. So tonight we're going to be going over the application process for mainly for the credential program, but we will cover briefly the master's program. I did see that a lot of you had a chance to go ahead and register, and you RSVP'd, and which is why you got here. So thank you for doing that, and I think everybody's pretty much signed in, but kind of as Jamie mentioned, if you have any questions right now, we've kind of put everybody muted. So please, type your question, and we can get back to you as soon as possible. I will be pausing throughout the presentation to answer questions, and we'll also have a Q&A at the end. We'll try to get you guys right out of here at 7. And a couple of housekeeping things. Just double check that you're in a quiet area, that you can focus on the requirements and things that we're going to be covering. It's very lengthy, so thank you for bearing with us ahead of time with everything here. And something kind of random, but the lights in this room will dim after a period of time if there's no movement. So if I get up or if you see the lights dim, that's what's happening. I'll be just kind of getting up to turn them back on. And at the end of the presentation, if you'd be so kind, there's a brief survey. We ask if you can please take the survey just to let us know how we're doing, if there's anything we can add or change. We'd like to improve as fast as possible, so we'll be prompting you on that. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into it here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to share it here so you guys can see my screen. So give me just one moment here while I do that. Okay, and so are you guys all able to view the PowerPoint? Is anybody having any problems? Okay, so tonight we're just going to be going over, kind of like I mentioned, the application process for the preliminary credential programs, and briefly covering the master's programs, the CLEAR program, and the authorization programs. So our mission statement is to teach, to serve, and to engage in scholarship. We teach our students to be critical thinkers and lifelong learners. We prepare professionals who improve student learning, to promote diversity, and make informed decisions, engaging collaborative endeavors. We also engage in scholarly work that informs the profession and the education that we serve. So when you finish our program, you'll be very knowledgeable and competent. You'll be able to jump right out there in the field and be successful. You'll be reflective and responsive, and you'll be committed and caring professionals. So we're always trying to change, things about our program to make it better and better, and we appreciate your input whenever possible. So also, before I continue, hopefully everybody has received some emails from me. If you have registered recently, like today, you may not have received it, but hopefully everybody had a chance to print out the overview PowerPoint. It's several pages long, along with our checklist. It's 2 pages or 3 pages stapled, along with the program plan. So there should be a early childhood, moderate severe, and a mild moderate. So with that, this is some contact information. So the physical address, in case you would like to come and visit me, I'm happy to answer your questions. The address here is listed. The mailing address, should you need to mail any documents in, is listed. Our credential program is all, the application process is all online, so there's really no need to mail any documents for the credential program. The master's is still partially in person as far as submitting your documents. Again, my name is Lisa, and I'm the admission assistant here for special education, and my contact information is here on this slide. The best way to reach me, I can respond via email or phone. Right now, it's pretty busy for me. We had our master's and credential deadlines, so I try to get back to you about 24 hours, but it's taking me a little bit longer because there's just an influx of applications at this time. But feel free to contact me. Again, if you don't hear from me, you can call me back a few days later so I can try to answer your questions as soon as possible. We have our website listed there. That's where a lot of our forms and documents are located. And there's also the graduate program coordinator, Dr. Adrian Jung. He's the master's advisor. There's no need to really contact him at this time, but his information is there when you need it. So I'm just going to jump right in here for the Cal State Apply application. Those of you who maybe are undergraduates, this is an application that you'll need to reapply to the university in order to take the prerequisites. Those of you who are new to Cal State Fullerton, this is the application that they use. So it used to be called CSU Mentor. They did away with that, and it's now called Cal State Apply. So if you look on your PowerPoint here, it should be page, if you print it out with like the 3 per page here, it should be page number 3. And that's page number 2 rather. It's here on the bottom, Cal State Apply. So when you go to this website, you'll want to make sure that you select the correct term. Currently, there's a spring 2019 application open, as well as the fall 2019 application. So when you're applying, if you have your blue checklist, we could take a look at that as well. It's number 1 on your checklist, and it says create the Cal State Apply application. And so you go to their website, calstate.edu/apply, and this page here is what you'll see. And so it's really important, again, to make sure if you want to take prerequisites in spring, go ahead and click on spring 2019. If you're wanting to wait to take the prerequisites until fall 2019, you can apply for fall. But once you've hit that submit button, you've paid your $55, and if you made a mistake and you meant to apply for fall instead of spring, they will not refund you. So just double, triple check that you're applying to the right term. And unfortunately, I've had several students that applied to the wrong term, and my hands are tied, unfortunately. So with that, the next thing you'll want to do is go ahead and create an account. If you do not have an account, you'll go ahead and click on this Create an Account button. And when you do that, they're going to ask you to put, your name, contact information, username and password. And so this is what you'll be using to log back into your Cal State Apply in order to finish your application. Once you've gathered or created your username and password, you'll go back to this screen here, and you will see the sign in here. And so from here, you could go ahead and sign in using your username and password you just created. And now you're going to see a box with 4 quadrants. And so you'll see in the upper left-hand box, it says personal information. The second box, academic history. The third box, supporting information. And the fourth box, program materials. So what you'll want to do here is when you go to the add a program, you should see an add a program on the top of the screen there. And that's what you'll want to make sure that you select the graduate program and that you select the teaching credential. Make sure you do not choose master's unless you really mean to do the master's. This is something else that has caused a lot of problems. Again, once you've submitted it, you cannot change it. So make sure you're following along the checklist that you should have received in the email, because that way you'll make sure you apply to the right program. And if you follow on this checklist, it's the second bullet point. It says select graduate, including credential certificate program. And it says for the type of degree, select teaching credential. Those are really, really important. So just make sure you follow along with your checklist so you make sure you select the right one. The next thing to pay close attention to is the preliminary. When you apply to the program, you want to make sure you choose preliminary credential. You're going to see like clear credential, there's authorizations, there's about 15 different things listed. And so make sure on your checklist to follow that checklist very closely and choose preliminary programs. That way you're applying to the right program. Does anyone have any questions so far on this process? Let's see here. Jamie, can you?
Yes, Danielle, let me find your name on
Okay.
the list, and then I will unmute you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're good to go now. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I somehow, under program materials, if you click on that, I have the correct semester program for the fall or spring 2019, but I also somehow have one from, I think it's a fall 2018. So it's like, it's passed already, but it still keeps showing up there. So like when I do my final submit, I don't want it to like, I don't know, somehow, go into like some old one. It's like too late and they just ignore it all.
That's a good question. So basically what you'd want to do is make sure when you're logging in that you choose the correct term. So fortunately, the fall 2018 is already like closed. There's no way to get back into it. So it may be just, it'll always show up showing that you started it. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's a way to remove it. I haven't found anything, but maybe there's a way to put it like in a trash can. There's like usually a trash can icon or something.
Yeah.
If it's not there, then, when you're submitting it at the very end, it'll say, did you want to apply to this program? And it'll have it'll say like spring 2019, for example, and then you could confirm and say, I want to apply.
So as long as I'm submitting all the documents and everything to that under that correct
So
line, then it should be fine.
Correct. And it's right when you log in. So like if you log in and it says fall 2019, or if it says something else other than what you intended, you want to make sure you go back to before that login section, before you've typed in your username and password.
It's right on there. It only shows up when I click on program materials.
Okay. Yeah. So it's probably just residual and it'll stay there. So, just double check before you submitted that it didn't submit to that term.
Okay.
Does that kind of help?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because I know it's all already passed. I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be like, we're going to ignore this because it's,
Right. Yeah, that sounds good. That should be good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. And I think somebody has.
Yes. Let me, Valerie, I'm going to unmute you so you can ask the question.
Hi, so I have a question about the prerequisites. Since I haven't been admitted and I know there's the prereqs, if I didn't make it into the program for spring, but I apply for the fall, would I be able to take the prereqs at Cal State during the spring?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if those of you who have not taken our prerequisites, and we'll talk about what those are and everything in a little bit, but there's 3 prerequisite courses that are required before you enter the program. You'll need to either be enrolled or have them completed by the application deadline. But if you have not taken them, you can take them as early as the spring semester, which begins mid-January, and then try to aim to apply to the program for fall 2019. And that deadline, the first deadline is February 15th. And we'll talk about all the details on that in a moment here. But yeah, you definitely can apply to the university now for spring. So you can take the prerequisites and then, be in communication with me so we can make sure that you get in for those prerequisites.
Okay, yeah, I was just worried because if I don't get into the program, I was not sure if I still don't get into Cal State.
Right. So we allow everybody to take the prerequisites. That does not, impede you getting into the program. The application process to get into the program is a different process, and we're going to be jumping into that momentarily. But we allow everybody to take the prerequisites.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Sure. All right. So I'm going to continue on here, and so this is another slide here talking about kind of what we were talking about. So when you come to the application process, you're going to see a section. It says, do you want to apply as an undergraduate or a graduate? And so the Credential program, it's kind of a unique program. It is a graduate program because it does require a bachelor's degree, but it's not a master's program. We do have a master's program, but the Credential is its own program where it's not a master's program. So just make sure you're following along the checklist very closely, and that way you won't choose the incorrect program. So back to the adding a program we kind of talked about, the preliminary program. This is kind of what this looks like. I'm going to kind of glaze over this here briefly. But as you can see on the lower bottom, it starts to talk about the different programs that we offer for the Credential. And so you'll see there's autism authorization, and it goes clear on down the list. There's about 15 different things. So just double check that you're making sure you apply to either the preliminary early childhood, preliminary mild moderate, or preliminary moderate severe. So just another example there. Okay, so there are two main categories or quadrants where you will be uploading your documents for prerequisites. Those of you who need to take prerequisites in the spring, there's a few sections that we're going to need you to submit and upload in order for us to allow you to take prerequisites. So when you go to quadrant 3, so quadrant 3, let me just go back here to show you, is that lower left-hand quadrant here. When you click on supporting information, you're going to go to, it's going to take you here to this page. As you see on the upper left-hand corner there, it says supporting information. This is exactly what you'll see. So if you look kind of toward the left side of the page, that's kind of exactly what will show up. You'll see a section there. It says experiences, and then there's another blue box below it. It says documents. So for that experience section, you may want to write a note on your PowerPoint or somewhere. You do not need to write down any experiences. So just try to say, like, I do not want to upload, or I do not want to answer it, or it says specifically something along those lines. So you could just select that option, and then you go down to documents. Now it's going to ask, now when you click documents, you'll see on the right hand side of this page here, that's kind of an example of what you're going to see. It starts to list out everything that you'll see. So basic skills is the CBEST. If you have it, go ahead and upload it for your prerequisites. If not, you will need the CBEST in order to apply to the actual program. So we'll talk about all the requirements here in a minute, but this is kind of to give you an idea as to what this will look like. So CSET is required for mild, moderate, and moderate severe, but you do not need these requirements for the prerequisites. You do need them for the program. So the very last little piece here, it's kind of cut off a little bit, but you can see it says early pre-program experience. I'm sorry, early pre-program field, and it says experience after that. Please do not fill that out. Just leave it blank. That is something extra that all the Cal States have it on their applications, but we don't use it here at Fullerton. Maybe other campuses use it, but here at Fullerton we do not. So go ahead and just skip that section. So maybe jot down a note saying skip early pre-program field experience. And you can also skip, there's another section that talks about the intern form or intern application form. Please skip that section as well. We do have an intern option. I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit, but you'll want to, just skip that for the application purpose, and then the intern part we'll talk more about once you're at your interview. So moving on, this is quadrant 4. So program materials, let me go back. So program materials will be here in quadrant 4 in the lower right-hand quadrant. When you click quadrant 4, it will take you here to this page. And so go ahead and click on that blue box. It'll say either, mild, moderate preliminary, early childhood preliminary, or moderate severe, depending on whichever program you selected. And when you click on it, you're going to see that home tab. It's going to give you some more information about the program. So in case for whatever reason you misplaced your checklist, you're not sure, that home section in quadrant 4 will give you some more information and more detailed information as to how to upload all these documents. Then when you're ready, you'll go ahead and click on the Documents tab on the middle there. And when you click on that, you'll see a section that kind of looks like this. And so the prerequisites, there is a personal statement that is required. And so basically, we'll talk about what that looks like and what's needed for that. But it's basically 2 to 3 pages typed in double space, kind of following our prompts that's listed on our checklist. And then you would go ahead and complete it and upload it into that personal statement section there. The other sections in quadrant 4, they're not required for the prerequisites, but again, they are required for the program. So double check that checklist when you're ready to apply that you've followed it very closely. If anything's missing, we will not review your application for the program. So just double check that. And let's see here. Okay, so any questions so far on uploading in quadrant 3 or quadrant 4? Okay, everybody seems like they're doing okay so far. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and jump right into the admissions requirements for the program. So the first requirement listed here is the attendance of an in-person overview. Well, congratulations, this is our first online overview, so we do need to change that to say in-person or online, but if you attended today, you should receive an email from myself or someone else in our department saying, thank you for attending. That's going to be an important email that you need to receive. That's your verification that you attended this overview or you viewed this overview session. So we're hoping to get that out to you by the end of this week. You should receive an email to whatever email you registered with onto the RSVP page there. So just keep an eye out. If you do not receive it for whatever reason, feel free to email me, and then I can double check that you attended, and then I can send that to you. That overview email, you're also going to want to print it out, and you're going to need to upload it to your Cal State Apply application. So it's really important that you receive that email. Okay, so the next one here, the graduate application, we kind of talked about transcripts. So I'm going to kind of exit out of this sharing here and go back to the view. So for the transcript section here, you should have a checklist here. Ours is blue here, but it's number 2 on the checklist. So if you guys have this in front of you, go ahead and pull it out. The checklist here on number 2 for the transcripts. For those of you doing this Cal State Apply, they're going to ask you, it says it's a transcript entry section. Please do not fill out the transcript entry section. Make a big note and circle it. Basically, the transcript entry section, they want you to input every single class you've taken. Please don't do that. We don't need you to do all that. That's just a waste of time. So you can skip that section. You can say, like, I think it says, I do not want to upload or something like that. So just skip it because we're going to ask you to upload your transcripts later on down, and then you may need to send them to admission. So if we're looking at our checklist, for the first bullet point here, it says if you are new to CSUF, so if you've never attended CSUF for your undergrad or any time, you would need to submit 2 sets of official transcripts. One set of official transcripts from all community colleges and universities you'll need to submit to our admissions and records office. And then the other official set, you'll want to have it mailed directly to your home. And so basically what you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and open those transcripts that you receive. And so by opening them, that makes them unofficial. And then you're going to go ahead and upload them to your Cal State Apply application in quadrant 4. So it has it listed for you right here. It says where to upload and how you do that. And it says in quadrant 4 here. Because that's where we're going to view, your transcripts through that way. Those of you who did graduate from Cal State Fullerton or are about to graduate from Cal State Fullerton, you still must upload Cal State Fullerton transcripts, unfortunately. So you don't need to send them to admissions and records because they have them, but you will need to upload them to your Cal State Apply application. And so basically, that's where it talks about if you are a CSUF graduate, you'll want to order Cal State Fullerton transcripts, have them sent to your home, open them, and then upload them to your Cal State Apply application. The reason we ask for them, again, is because the state, once you complete the credential program, the state of California requires that we show them proof that you've earned a bachelor's degree. So even if you did graduate from Cal State Fullerton, we have to show them that you graduated from Cal State Fullerton in order to meet that requirement. And lastly, for the transcript section, those of you who are currently undergrads, what you could do is go ahead and upload the unofficial transcripts for that section, and then upload them into quadrant 4, and then you're going to need to send me the official transcripts once your degree posts for that section. So any questions? I'm going to pause right here because this one tends to cause a lot of problems sometimes. So does anybody have any questions regarding transcripts, how you upload them, how to access them, anything like that? I have some.
Okay, hi. So
Hi.
the first transcripts I did that. I uploaded them online for under the program ones. The second ones, are those going to like the university's admission records or specifically like the education departments?
So are you a CSUF graduate?
No, I just took the prerequisites through like Open University. So I have transcripts I got those transcripts as well.
Okay, so if you've just taken prerequisites at Fullerton only, you don't have to submit those to me or to the admissions. The ones that you would need are from like your undergraduate or from like if you went to anything after you graduated, like any sort of credential programs or anything afterward, you would need to order those official transcripts, have a copy sent to admissions and records, official copy, and any community colleges you attended, they'll need every community college, even if it's listed, it says like Orange Coast College or something. Unfortunately, you still have to order them because they'll need to see the actual transcript. But
I just want to, because I think I'm going to just take them up there because I've had issues before with schools using them.
Okay.
Which is it like is it in the Department of Education admissions or like the whole like Fullerton admissions?
Yeah, admissions and records through the whole university. So the whole university admissions will need your transcripts, and then in order to show the department that you have those transcripts, you'll be uploading them to your
uploaded ones,
application. Does that kind of help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I have one more quick question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe I'm jumping the gun here. I have a question about the GPA requirement for the transcripts.
Sure, the GPA. Yeah, we're going to jump into that in just a minute, but
should I ask now or you want me to wait?
Yeah, let's wait, and then we can hopefully maybe we answer it at that point.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we also have a question in the comments from Ignacio. I'll read it out loud. And he says, I applied to CSUF last year and submitted the transcripts, but I did not continue with the process. Do I still need to submit them again?
Ignacio, yeah, that's a good question. What I could do, I'll double check it for you. What I'll need you to do is send me an email with your name, and then if you have your campus-wide ID, that's helpful. Then I can go in and check with admissions and records to see if they show them on file. If they're not showing up for whatever reason, then we would ask you to resubmit them again. But my email, if you go back to slide, it's like the fifth slide rather on the PowerPoint. It has my email address. Go ahead and email me your first and last name and campus ID, and then I can answer that question for you.
And then we also have another one from Katie.
Let's see. Oh, Katie. Yes. Hi, Katie. So you're an undergrad and you'll be graduating this spring. Congratulations. And you're wondering about getting your official transcript. So for this purpose, what you would do is go ahead and order your official transcript and have it sent to Cal State Fullerton if you're planning to take any classes here in the spring. You still can take prerequisites while you're an undergrad. So you can order those transcripts showing the university that your degree is in progress. And then once your degree has posted, you would have to order another official set of transcripts, have those sent to admissions and records again. And then you would upload them to your Cal State Apply application. So hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a little bit of a tricky situation, but did that help answer your question, Kaylee? Okay, so if you...
Oh, yes, it helped me a lot.
Okay, perfect. Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. So yeah, if you have any specific questions too, I'd be happy to help with that as well. And from Juliana, you have your credential from Fullerton. Do you need to send transcripts to admissions? So you only need to send transcripts to admissions and records if you are new to Cal State Fullerton, or if you've taken anything since you have graduated from Cal State Fullerton, any post-baccalaureate coursework or anything like that. So if you have not taken anything since your credential, then you don't need to send any more transcripts to admissions. However, you will need to order official ones in order to upload them to your application. Hopefully that helps answer your question. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving. Sorry, time's getting short on me here. So let's see. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and bring that up here and share that. Sorry, give me just a second here. Okay, so transcripts is, hopefully everybody's okay on that. Feel free to contact me again if something was not clear or you need some clarification. I'd be happy to help. Okay, so GPA, for the credential program, we do have a minimum GPA of 2.75, either in your last 60 units or cumulative. So whichever one is higher, we will take, and it does need to be that 2.75. If it's 2.74, we won't consider your application. But what you could do is use those prerequisite courses to help boost your GPA. And so there's a few extra courses too that can also help boost your GPA. We can talk about that in a little bit, but it does need to be the 2.75. For the master's program, the master's GPA is 3.0 in your last 60 units. So that specifically is only your last 60 units, and it has to be at least 3.0. And again, if it's 2.9, unfortunately, we won't review your application. So I'm going to switch over here and then go back to the checklist here. So did that answer your question? Was it Danielle about the GPA?
Yes.
That answer? Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So next up is the personal statement. So number 4, if you're looking at our checklist, we talked about the overview. So, you make sure to print out the email from today and upload that to your Cal State Apply application according to our checklist. And the next one here is the personal statement. So this one is really important. Whether you're doing the prerequisites or the program, applying to the program for the spring, the personal statement is required before you hit that submit button on the application. So the personal statement is 2 to 3 pages, typed and double-spaced, sort of introducing yourself, why you're interested in special ed. We do have a prompt that you'll want to follow, so just make sure that your essay is written according to the prompt. And when you're done, just put your name in the header. It doesn't have to be like super formal. We don't need a cover page or anything like that. Sometimes people put a title on it. Sometimes people put like a column on the left with like their information. That's fine. Any of those options are fine. Basically, as long as you just follow this prompt here and then upload it accordingly, you'll be good to go. And so you'll upload it in the personal statement section in quadrant 4 that we looked at earlier. Now, certificate of clearance, this one we get a lot of questions on. A lot of a lot of you may have completed some sort of fingerprint for like your employer or a church or some organization that you volunteer at or work for. So unfortunately, with the state of California, there are different levels of background checks. So you may have done one in the past, but what you'll want to do is double check that you have completed that requirement. And so basically how you do that, you would log on here to the CTC website. You should see a link here, and you'll go ahead and it asks you to say, there's a button you can say search for educator, and then click secured search. Go ahead and input your social and date of birth, and then when you do those things, you'll go ahead and it'll if you're clear, it'll say, congratulations, you're clear. And then it'll say certificate of clearance, and you can just print that out and then upload it to your application. If you look yourself up and then it gives you an error message, or it says no records found or something along those lines, unfortunately, we would need you to do, it's a two-part process here for the certificate of clearance. So if you're not cleared, this is how you would complete this, is the first step is printing out this live scan. It's basically a form that you fill out. You want to bring it to the police station. Bring 2 copies with you. 1 copy you'll keep for your records. 1 copy the agency will keep. And that's where they're going to do your actual fingerprints. If you are a current CSUF student, the police station on campus, they charge a little bit less. It's still a little pricey. I think it's like $75 or $80, but normally it's like $90 or $100. If you're a current student, you can use our police station. Just walk in and they can take care of that for you. If not, you can choose any police station or live scan agency that's nearby where you live. So that takes care of the first part for certificate of clearance. The second part that you want to do, there's an online application on the CTC website. So again, you'll just want to refer to that link here on the certificate of clearance requirement here, and then you'll go ahead and fill out, they're going to ask you some fitness questions and different questions, and then there's another fee. Unfortunately, I think it's like $55 or $60, something around there for that fee, so a little pricey, but you'll need both parts. Once you complete both parts, it'll take the CTC about 5 to 7 business days to process it. And then once they process it and you're cleared, you'll receive an email from the CTC saying, congratulations, you've been cleared. And so you'll want to print out that email, and you'll need to upload that email to your Cal State Apply application. And that tells us here in the department that you're already cleared through the CTC. Any questions on certificate of clearance or fingerprint clearance? Pretty good. Okay. So next is the verification of basic skills. So that is the CBEST. That's the most common one. If you have the checklist here in front of you, there are a few other options that you could do. So if you're an undergrad, or you've maybe taken some of these, the first one here is the CSU EAP, or English, it stands for English something placement exam, or the math exam. If you received a certain score, and this link here will, if you go to this link, you're wondering, what score do I need, it'll tell you, which scores you'll need. And if you did meet that requirement, both the math and the English have to both be completed in order to satisfy this basic skills requirement. If only one is completed, unfortunately, we would not be able to accept that for the CBEST. Another one it says here is the SAT and ACT, and then there are certain AP exams. Maybe you got a passing score on an AP exam in high school, we could use that in place of the CBEST. But to double check, just go to this link. It'll tell you the scores you need and everything like that. But the most common is the CBEST. And if you do need to take the CBEST, you can register online through their website, and you could take the exam, and then you can upload their results onto your Cal State Apply. So something to note, you may want to jot down. For the basic skills, they give you an option. Do you want to have the results sent to Cal State Fullerton? If you want to, that's fine, but unfortunately that doesn't help us here in the department. We're not able to view the results that admissions and records receives. They're kind of stingy. So whatever they receive, they don't share with us. So in order to receive these results, you would actually need to print them out and upload them to your Cal State Apply application. Any questions on basic skills? Let's see. Oh, I think Jasmine here, you had a question back to the 30-day sub. Let me go back really quickly. The 30-day sub permit, if you have one, you don't need to do another fingerprint part, but you do need to do another application online. So unfortunately, we do need the certificate of clearance because it's good for 5 years. And then that way, it'll last you throughout the program. So unfortunately, we don't accept the 30-day permit. You would need to do just the online application for the certificate of clearance. And let's see, I think, do we have any other, okay.
I think Juliana has her hand.
Juliana,
Let me
yes,
unmute you, Juliana.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I sent in a, because I already have my credential, I sent in a form, but I realized that I sent it to the Nutwood address rather than the mailing address. So will they ever receive it, or do I need to resend it?
That should be fine. Did you put attention to special ed, or did you put?
Yes, the special ed.
Special ed. Okay, sometimes Jamie gets it. He's in a different department where I'm at. And so if he does, he usually brings it here to me. But do you mind sending me an email just with your question, and then I can double check it for sure to make sure that we've received it. So it was transcripts, you said?
Yes, it was
okay.
The verification of the credential.
Verification of credential. Okay, yeah. So do you mind just sending me an email with that question, and then I can take a look for you a little bit closer.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions on basic skills or certificate of clearance? Everybody doing okay? I know I need to wrap it up here. It's only about 10 minutes. So I'm going to cover one more area that's really important, and then kind of go over some of the other basics here for the application, and then talk about the masters and the clear. So the subject matter competence is number 8 on your checklist. This is the other thing that is super important. If you have not taken the subject matter competence, otherwise known as CSET, we highly recommend starting on that as soon as possible. Both the CBAS and CSET are very time consuming. In other words, if you take it, if you try to register for it today, let's say you log on today, and the next test isn't until like November 22nd. So you take it November 22nd. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to get your results back. So you're looking at end of November, or end of December rather, beginning of January, and that's already coming up to our deadlines. So we're going to talk about that too. So definitely try to register as soon as possible to start practicing and preparing. I'm going to send you guys there's going to be a little paper, and it's going to be in a Word format, but it's basically some ways to prepare for the CBAS and CSET. I'm going to send that to you. Definitely take a look. It's super helpful, and then hopefully that can help you prepare for those exams. But the only way you can kind of get out of taking the CSET is if you majored in liberal studies, or like a core subject area, history, biology, English, math. There's something what's called an SSMPP, and you'll see it here listed on the checklist. It's SSMPP, and basically the department of your university where you received your bachelor's would have to have this program. They would need to sign off on a form, and then you would get that form signed and then submit that to us to show that you've met the requirement. But most of the time, unfortunately, students end up needing the CSET. So if that's you, then you want to make sure you take that CSET as soon as possible. And for special education, for the CSET, there is not a special ed CSET. So in order to take the CSET for special ed, you would take either a multiple subject CSET. You'd want to take all subtests 1, 2, and 3. And all 3 would need to be passed by the deadline. Or you could take a single subject CSET in one of these subject areas: English, foreign language, math, foundational math. There's several things listed here. So any one of those is okay for the program and is okay for the state of California. You can get your credential and be on your way. Now, you may have an issue later on as far as, getting a job. Certain districts prefer certain CSETs. It really shouldn't matter, but that's just the reality. So if that's the case, let's say if you happen to have taken the English CSET and you apply for a job at a district and they're like, you know what, we need you to have a multiple subject CSET, then you could take the multiple subject at that time, but you already have your credentials. So if that district is being particular, apply to another district or, something like that. But you have your credential, and any of these can get you your credential. So, and all the subtests have to be completed. There are different subtest areas depending on which CSET you take. Sometimes there's 3 subtests, sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 4. So whichever area, like if you choose English, there's 4 subtests. All 4 subtests have to be passed and completed before you can apply to the actual program, not for the prereqs, but for the program. Any questions on certificate of clearance or SMPP? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I didn't even know I could search to see if I've done this before. So I've done 9,000 live scans, and seriously, the people know me there. And it says, so I logged in and it says I have a certificate of clearance from 2017, but like it's like just a web page. There's not like a PDF or anything. What do I do with this?
Is that you're talking when you log on to the certificate of clearance and it says
the CTC, yeah.
The CTC. Okay, so yeah, you could if it has your name and it says certificate of clearance, go ahead and just print that out and then you'll upload it to your application. Double check that it'll be valid throughout your program. So if you are taking prerequisites in spring, you'd want to make sure it's valid starting fall, which begins in August. So August 2019. And your program would end in May of 2020. So you'd want to make sure that it will remain valid throughout that time. If that's the case, then by all means, go ahead and print it out, upload it to your application, and you'll be on your way.
So just print like this web page, the view that I'm looking at.
Right. Yep. You could just print that page and.
Okay. Well, I just wasn't sure because it doesn't look like a document.
Yeah.
It's just like an online website thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that should work. If you want to send it to me and email it to me just to double check, I'd be happy to look at it for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I'm going to kind of cover briefly. I think we have about 8 minutes here. So number 9 on the checklist talks about the government constitution requirement. If you were a Cal State graduate from any Cal State, you more than likely have met this requirement. It's a requirement to graduate, but you'll want to double check that you received at least a C or higher. The state is very specific. If it's a C- or lower, you cannot use that requirement. We'd have to talk about ways to meet this requirement. So just double check your transcripts. That's why those transcripts will also come in handy for this requirement. TB results, we'll need some current TB results. You'll want to go ahead and upload those for the actual program, not for the prerequisites. CPR, this one is something we are requiring for the prerequisites because there are observation hours required. So you want to make sure to go ahead and, do a CPR course and then upload it to your application. Just follow the steps, so you can do either an online course or an in-person course, as long as it's by either American Heart Association or by the American Red Cross. So either one of those would be sufficient. And then there's a $50 department fee, which is separate from the university fee. So you can take care of that when you do the prerequisites if you want to. If not, it's okay, but you'll need to do it by the time you apply to the actual program. And then number 13 here is submitting your application. So just double checking everything, going through it, and go ahead and submitting it. Double check you're in the right semester, that you're applying to the right program, because again, once you hit that submit button and you've paid the $55, we cannot give you that money back. You'd have to reapply again and pay another $55. So just double check before you submit that you're applying to the right program. And there's letters of recommendation that we require. They need to be written on our templates. There's 2 from faculty, 2 from child youth. There's some links here, so they'll need to go ahead and you can either email the professor or the person the link, and then they can fill it out and email it directly to me, or you can hand it to them, print it out yourself, hand it to them, and they can give it to me, whatever is easier. But we do ask that they are confidential and that they submit it directly here to me. Let's see. So the prerequisites, we have specific prerequisites for special education. So those 3 prerequisites are SPED 322, 371, and 425. So again, you can apply to the university for spring, and you could take those prerequisites. Our prerequisites here, if you take them at Fullerton, they're online, so you don't have to come to campus. And then, you can then, in the meantime, be working on the other items listed on the checklist, so then you can apply to the actual program. Let's see here. 371 is the only prerequisite that is offered at most community colleges. So I do have a list of community colleges in the area that offer the equivalent course. They will not call it SPED 371. They have their own special unique name, but you can download it, and then I can send that to you, and then you can see which community colleges in the area offer that course. So I will send that to you guys in the email sometime this week. So you should receive that. Okay, so for early childhood, if you are interested in early childhood, you do not need the CSUF, but you do need these 9 units of child development coursework. So if you majored in child development, you've already met this requirement. If you did not, then we'll kind of have to talk about, whether the courses are approved or not. I don't do that. Dr. McWayne does the approving, and I'd have to kind of get you connected with that, and we can talk about that. So email me if you are interested in early childhood and you're not sure if you've met those 9 units of child development. But if you end up needing to take 1 or more of those courses, they all need to be either in progress or completed by the application deadline. So when is all of this due? If you go back to the front side, the deadlines, we have 3 deadlines. There are 3 for fall and 3 for spring. So why 3 deadlines? Well, that's because we like to space out the number of applicants and applications. And so we highly recommend, though, to try to aim for that first deadline. So with the spring semester, you'll be taking the prereqs. So you'd actually want to be aiming to apply for the fall program. So if you look, the first fall deadline is February 15th. So that's just around the corner, a few months. So all these things we talked about, except for the prereqs, all these things have to be completed before you can consider applying for fall. So you can still submit your Cal State Apply application, and you're able to upload things on the back end after it's already been submitted, but you cannot change the program, or you cannot change any questions once you've submitted it. So I know that probably didn't make sense. I'm going to repeat it. You can upload documents on the back end of your application once you've submitted it, but you cannot change the actual program, and you cannot change the semester that you've submitted once you've hit that submit button. Is everybody clear on that part? Any questions on that?
I think Juliana had a question. I'm going to unmute you so you can ask Lisa.
Okay. It was regarding the CPR. Does a CPR need to have the pediatric?
Good question. So we do ask that it's infant, child, and adult, but some places they kind of combine infant and child and say pediatric and adult. That's okay if it says that. If it says pediatric and adult, that's okay. Or if it says infant, child, and adult, but it does need to have all those components. So double check before you register, that it will cover all of those areas. Good question. Any other questions? I think I'll probably go about 5 minutes over. I know we can kind of start wrapping it up here. Okay, So back to the deadlines. So we have the three. The first one coming up is February 15th. The second deadline is March 15th, and the final deadline is April 15th. So we do look at applications on a first come, first serve. So we recommend try to submit it earlier the better, you know, and that way we can try to place you in a school that is nearby or that's your preferred. There's a lot of reasons, but if you apply by April 15th, it doesn't mean you don't have a chance either. That just means, you know, if anybody has applied before you and there are not enough seats for some reason, then we'd have to ask you to roll to the next semester is what that looks like. And we've really been having an influx of students in early childhood. That's kind of the area where I'm kind of referring to. So if you're interested in that area, that's where it's kind of a question mark. The other emphases, mild, moderate, mild, severe, we haven't had so many problems with that, but I just want to put it out there so, you know, that way you guys know, try to aim as, you know, as soon as you can to submit everything. And again, we have, you know, the deadlines for spring. There are three. It's September 15th, October 15th, and November 15th. Same thing. Try to aim by the first deadline if you're trying to start, you know, spring 20. You can still apply for this spring. If you've already completed everything here, you can still have an opportunity. You have from now till November 15th, which is less than a month, to submit and apply and everything. And you're welcome to do that as long as your prerequisites are already in progress or completed. For those of you who have not taken the prereqs, you'd want to aim for the spring to take your prereqs, but apply the actual program for fall 2019 for the actual program. So that's kind of the checklist here as far as the application goes. Hopefully you guys doing okay and bearing with me. From Kaylee, how do we apply to do our prereqs? So in spring 2019. So through your Cal State Apply. So if you go back here to number 1, just go to your Cal State Apply application, fill it out. It's still open for spring 2019, and then you can go ahead and submit the minimum requirement. There are some of these things that you will need in order to take the prerequisites. Like I mentioned, the CPR is one of them. The statement of purpose is another one. And then you can, submit the application and then just contact me to let me know. This is a newer kind of way. The spring 19 is the first time we're going fully online here. So just keep me posted. I'm happy to make sure you're squared away, you have everything you need, and then that way we can get you to where you need to be. From Anna, who do I email regarding the verification of the 9 units of early childhood? So go ahead and email myself, Lisa Alexander, and my email, I believe it's the 5th slide on the PowerPoint. So my email is listed on there. Just go ahead and shoot me an email, and then I can direct you to how we can go about that. From Jasmine, does a poli-sci 100 course count for the Constitution requirement? It does, but again, you want to double check that you received at least a C or higher. The Cal States will graduate students with a D or higher, so that's why we're very particular, only because the state is very particular that it has to be at least a C or higher. So as long as it's a C or higher, you're good, but you'll need to upload those transcripts to show that you have met that requirement. So we have, I'm kind of running out of time here, but you should hopefully have received 3 program plans. Sorry, I lost the name there. These program plans are going to be what you will use as far as the actual courses when you're in the program. So it should be 2 pages. The second page you should see is the back. It's like the program descriptions, talks about all the courses, the titles, the prereq titles, the core course titles, everything, and all the course descriptions. So if you're wondering, what's 371 about, you can find out, on the back here of your program plan. There's also these 3 kind of additional required courses. Sorry, it's hard to hold up all 3, so I'll show you on this one. But it's on the right-hand side here. It says additional required courses. If you have an early childhood one, it'll say summer intercession courses. It should be on the right-hand side. And it's there's there's 3 courses listed. So it's 401, 421, and depending on your program area, the last course depends on that. So these 3 courses you can take before or during the program. If you have time while you're doing the program, or before the program, sorry. If you have time before the program, we recommend to try to take these additional required courses before you start. That way you don't have to focus on it later on. But you maybe squeeze in one with the 3 prerequisites, maybe take 2 in the summer, and then that way you don't have to worry about it. But they're all 3 online, those additional courses, and so you can take them at any time. Let's see, for Danielle, if there's not enough seats in the program when I apply, is it possible to be admitted for a later semester, or will I have to redo the entire application? We'll have to kind of cross that bridge when we get there. Because of this system that's very finicky as far as timelines are concerned, so we can definitely talk about that when that time comes. So we can keep me posted, and we can talk about that. And for Jasmine, can we do the credential program as part-time status? You can. So it's recommended to try to do the program full-time just so you can get in and out of here quickly, but we understand that that's not ideal for everybody. So the program is typically 2 full semesters. And so if you started, let's say, in fall 2019, you would be done by spring 2020, which ends in May. And so it's recommended to go full-time just so you're in and out and you don't have to worry about it, but you can go part-time, and that's something that will be discussed at your interview. You'd want to talk to your specific advisor about that option, and she'll go over with you kind of what that looks like and the requirements and so forth for that. Okay, so let's see. There are 2 semesters of student teaching, and I know it's 7:05. Jamie, is it okay to go a little bit more?
Yeah, it's fine, as long as everybody else is cool with that.
Is everybody okay? Okay.
Awesome.
So for the program, whether you do moderate severe, early childhood, or mild moderate, there are 2 semesters of student teaching required. So for mild mod and mod severe, your first semester of student teaching is in a gen ed elementary classroom. So the reason they want you to get familiar with the curriculum, learn how to work with other teachers and so forth, and then you would use what you learned here and apply it towards your second semester here in your student teaching in your second semester. And so your second semester, depending on whether you are mild moderate or moderate severe, you'll be placed in either a mild mod class if you're mild mod, or a mod severe class if you're moderate severe. So we'll help place you. You do not have to find your placements, but that's kind of how that looks like. And then as far as the timeline goes, on the back of your program plans, it lists kind of the description and what that looks like as far as the timeline. And if you are early childhood, you'll see there's fall courses and spring courses. So early childhood is the only program where the courses are specific to the semester you start. So let's pretend you start in fall 2019. So this first semester here would be your first semester of fall courses. It says fall courses here, and that would be your first semester. Your second semester would end here with the spring courses, and then you would be done there. And for fall, whether you start in fall or spring, the fall is always the infant toddler setting, and the spring is always the preschool setting. So if your first semester ends up being a spring semester, you'll start in a preschool setting instead of a infant toddler setting. So again, there's descriptions on the back that kind of list more details about student teaching. So take a look at that when you get a chance. And then I'm just going to pull back up this PowerPoint here. And let's see here. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so let's go on down here. Okay, so those are admissions requirements. So these are the advisors' information. This is in your PowerPoint, but if you are having, dire questions, you want to talk to the advisors, you're welcome to. Usually, there's no need at this stage in the process. I help kind of with all the admissions related questions, and then at your interview, that's kind of where I will hand you off, and you will be kind of directing your questions more towards your advisors at that point. Jamie, was there a question? Not sure if somebody had a question.
No, it looks fine.
Okay, thank you. So interns, we do offer an intern program. If you're interested in becoming an intern, you'd want to make sure all the items on our checklist are completed. You've passed your interview. You've also want to make sure you took all of the prerequisites, and you may want to star these on your program plan. If you're interested in becoming an intern, you also need SPED 421 before being an intern, and either 400 if you're early childhood, or 463 if you're mild moderate, or 464. So 421, and then either 400, 463, or 464. So those are required courses to be intern ready, and it is listed here on the PowerPoint too, just in case. But basically, at your interview, again, is where we'll talk to you about becoming an intern. It is up to you to find your own teaching position as an intern, and we can kind of talk to you more about that as the time comes. But just here's a slide to kind of show you what the basic requirements are for the interns. Residency requirements, we do require 75% of the coursework must be completed here at Cal State Fullerton. If you start taking coursework at a community college or another institution, we can bring in about 3 courses, and it kind of talks about that requirement here. The CLEAR program is what you'll want to do once you received your preliminary credentials. So the CLEAR program is basically it's the state requires you to clear your credential after you've already got your preliminary. What that means is if you decide to do that here with us at Cal State Fullerton, it's 4 more courses, and so about another year, and then you'll have your clear credential. And once you have a clear credential, the state won't bother you for another 5 years or so. They'll ask you for a payment, and you won't have to worry about courses. So I'm sorry, that's just how California is, but lots of requirements, but that's kind of the CLEAR program in a nutshell, and it'll be your same advisor, so they can help you through that program as well. If you're interested, if you're bilingual, we do have a bilingual authorization. That's super cool. For more information, definitely contact Dr. Fernando Rodriguez-Valls at his email there, and the areas are in Spanish, Korean, Vietnamese, and Mandarin. So if you're bilingual in any of those areas, this may be a good option for you. Looks good on your resume and everything like that. Masters. So the Masters, as I mentioned, it is a separate program from the Credential. And so if you are interested, you'll be hearing a lot about it throughout your program. All the faculty and your advisors and so forth will kind of bring that up to you. But you'll want to apply toward the beginning of your second semester of the program. And we do have a spring start and a fall start for the Masters as well. So we can definitely walk you through as the time comes. It's a different application process. You do have to reapply again to the university. You do have to reapply again to the department. There's a separate interview process. So it is a separate program. But we do offer the master's program, and our master's program and our CLEAR programs are both online. So the in-person part is only for the preliminary credential. The CLEAR and master's are both online. So here's some requirements for the master's. 3.0, we kind of talked about some of the requirements. There's a prereq course that you would need to take. So take a look at this slide, for more information as far as admissions requirements go. And then if you're interested in receiving scholarships or financial aid, it is available for the Credential program. I don't know if it's available for the Master's, but definitely apply for FAFSA. The next academic year, FAFSA applications will be opening January 1st, and will close on March 2nd. So keep an eye out for that and definitely apply. If you're eligible, it covers all the core courses, but it's not, it does not cover the prerequisite courses. The prerequisites are out of pocket. And I do see somebody had a question. Let me see here. Okay, so let's see. Somebody had their hand raised, Jamie. Do you see?
Yeah, let me unmute Valerie.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay, so you said the preliminary is face-to-face?
It is face-to-face, the preliminary, yes.
So because I can only do online classes, I have 2 jobs and 3 kids. What about if I did the master, if I applied for like the master's mild moderate, could I do all online classes or do I have to do the credential first?
Well, you could do either the master's or the credential, but where it becomes kind of tricky is if you want to actually teach and work with children with special needs in the state of California. California requires a credential, a teaching credential in special education. So if you want to do the master's, you could. You don't need a credential to do the master's program, but with just a master's, keep in mind you would not be able to necessarily teach in a classroom. You may be able to teach maybe at like a private school, but if it's a public school setting, they require a credential for that. But the master's is online. If you did want to move forward with that, it is online. You won't have to be, you don't have to live near campus to do the master's program. But for the credential, the preliminary credential, it is in person, and we ask that students live within like a 30-mile radius.
Oh, yeah, I'm in San Jose.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not possible. Do you know of any school that would do online credentialing?
You could try National maybe, or maybe there's a Cal State up there by you, maybe San Jose State or another university that offers a credential. Maybe they have some more insight. Unfortunately, I'm not super familiar. I'm familiar with the Fullerton one, but I would check out those options for sure.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure. And there's just like one more slide, and then we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. So let me go back here to share. Okay. So the Center for Careers is for undergrads. If you are an undergrad, definitely check them out. They are a great resource to help you, guide you through the application process and get in here to the credential program and take the prerequisites and all of that. And here's some important websites that will help you along the way with your application process. Definitely refer back to these. There's a CBES website where you register for the CBES, the CSET website where you register for the CSET. And yeah, so pretty much this is just explaining, the success in this program is definitely partially your responsibility. So you'll want to make sure that I'm happy to meet you halfway, but definitely you want to make sure that you stay on top of deadlines and documents and so forth, and so that way we can help get you to where you want to go. So this is your to-do list. It's basically talking about everything that we've talked about. This last slide here is if you did the online PowerPoint overview, which you don't have to worry about. So that's pretty much our overview, and definitely make sure if you guys have a moment, I think Jamie lists